Right, well, the Freedom Month celebration celebrates freedom and commemorates the first democratic post-apartheid non-racial elections that were held on April 27th, 1994, which saw Nelson Mandela elected as president. The celebrations also offer us an opportunity to reflect on progress made thus far in transforming our society, while also examining our challenges. We're now joined by the Minister of Sports, Arts and Culture, Nathi Mthethwa. Minister, great to have you on the show. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having us, Flo. Greetings to your viewers.
Minister, you launched, of course, Freedom Month in the Free State, of course, the month celebrating the 27 years of attainment of freedom and democracy in our country. Let's talk about some of the gains. That's one of the things that I said in the intro now, that we are reflecting back on some of the gains. I mean, you also point the fact that there is poverty, unemployment, inequality that are still looming large. But what have been the gains thus far? I mean, for many in our society, some might say things have really sort of stayed the same for them.
Well, I think that if you do your own research and comparison with the governments around the world, you will find that the government in South Africa has achieved a lot in trying to confront issues faced with our people in the quest for a better life, in all aspects of life. And remember that in the world, there's no country which went through what South Africa went through, a country where institutionalized racism was the order of the day. The first thing the democratic project had to achieve is to restore the dignity to African people, which is mostly taken for granted today, and ensure that they, like all other national groups in the country, are able to be guaranteed in the constitution of this country, their humanity secured like everybody else, but also coming to tangible achievements across the board for people's lives, whether we're talking education, for instance, whether we are talking issues of settlement. Many achievements have been recorded since 1994, whilst at the same time government has always said, and we've always emphasized the point that we still have a long way to go now with the challenges of this three resilient fault lines of unemployment, inequality, and poverty. Well aware of that, and whatever government is doing is trying to address precisely those very challenges our society is faced with.
And Minister, how are we addressing those challenges? I like the fact that you are talking about the fact that there are those challenges in our country that we are still faced with till today. How is government really actively then addressing those challenges that you speak of, that we are faced with, that you're saying that government is indeed dealing with?
At the core of the problems facing our society is the fact that 1994 was a breakthrough. We call it the 1994 breakthrough to ascend to political office and political power, so that power then is used to alleviate and eradicate poverty. If you look at the kind of schemes government has put in place, to look particularly from the point of view of those people who have nothing, the social wage actually which has been shared with the people of this country, are some of the ways of trying to confront issues of poverty which people are faced with. The very Hello?
Continue, Minister.
Yes, so I was saying that it will not be enough, but the fact of the matter is that government is confronting these issues with the finite resources which is at the disposal of government. But the more you achieve some, the more challenges comes to the fore. Because if, for instance, people are provided with settlements, houses, for instance, the next thing from there, you need to see that electricity, power is availed to them and so on. And that kind of a comprehensive approach to the broader challenges of society is the one which we are saying that it has seen South Africans better than they were before 1994, but still leave others outside of that net. And the project of government is continuing. But the fundamental issues are issues related to human resource development. That is why education has been prioritized in South Africa, that it is the apex priority of our society, that people should be enabled to, if you like, be able to fish on their own rather than providing fish to them as a society.
Yeah.
Now, I think that we are faced currently with the issue of economic emancipation, because political freedom itself is very important. It's very important to chart the way forward. But that way forward has to see issues of property, issues of land, as you know that government right now is addressing the issue of land because it's fundamental to self-sufficiency of our people.
Yeah. Minister, it would be quite disingenuous of me not to raise the issue of artists. And on this topic that you speak of, you're talking about confronting issues confronting issues of poverty. And one of the issues one might argue that government is faced with is the issue of corruption, where monies that are available are somewhat used elsewhere. Just recently, you said that heads would roll for the 300 million rand art stimulus package that was meant for artists. You said that the amount was overcommitted and not looted. How far are you with that? Because while we're talking about addressing poverty and unemployment, etc., there are artists that are directly in your portfolio who are faced with this, who are now faced with poverty, unemployment, and in fact going hungry. So I wonder, how are you directly in your portfolio addressing this issue, and how far are you in the promise to have heads rolling after the 300 million stimulus package was requested by the artists, by the many artists here in South Africa?
Well, firstly, Flo, is that we really care for our people in all the sectors of the economy. Creative economy is one of that. And one of the things we did as the department and as government broadly was to try and ensure that because understanding the situation of the creative industry, we then created a platform of relief. Right now, as we speak, we are on the third phase of the relief, precisely because we care and we understand that here you are dealing with mainly freelancers, people who would be taken from hand to mouth. Over and above that, with the presidential package, stimulus package, we wanted to ease this impact of COVID-19 engulfing particularly artists.
Yeah.
As we have just said, that in that people who are entrusted with this responsibility of dispensing and dispersing this to artists so that they are better like any other person in the country, they then decided to mismanage the way they did. Where we are now is that we had started a process of identifying the forensics company or group to deal with this, but at the same time, because of the magnitude of the issue, we are interacting and engaging the SIU because at face value, criminal activity has been, committed here without being judgmental or prejudging the issue. But it's such a serious matter that it needs both to be looked into, both from a civil point, but also from a criminal point. That's why the talks with SIU on our part is there to emphasize the seriousness and how serious are we in trying to deal with this problem, because we've got to deal with it. The resources were availed and resources were mismanaged, and somebody must account for it.
Yeah. Minister, before we wrap up our conversation, I was going to ask you how we should be observing Freedom Month, but just remember that there is something else as well that is on your plate currently today. The Cricket South Africa have not returned to you with the interim board and implementation of the Nicholson report. If not resolved by midnight tonight, this is after you extended a deadline for them to find a solution for the majority independent with an independent chairman. What is the possible sanction in mind for CSA? I know a lot of South Africans are asking about that. As the sports minister, no doubt this falls on your lap, and obviously people have questions and are asking rightly about that, Minister.
Oh, that's a big one, and we've made it very clear to Cricket South Africa that they must get their house in order. Getting their house in order means that the Nicholson report has to be implemented. There's no two way about that. So the choice is in the hands of Cricket South Africa, especially the Members' Council. The sanction is that it's going to demote South Africa to junk status. They won't be able to compete internationally. South Africa would not exist. And we have said that we should not be pushed towards that because it's in the law. And if we are pushed towards that part, we are going to implement the law. The unfortunate thing is that the athletes are going to suffer in the final analysis, but we are not going to be backing down on that. I am receiving a report from the chair of the interim board and from the president of Members' Council at 6 tonight, which I hope that they would have changed their minds, because the independent directors is the main issue here with Nicholson, that you need the majority of independent directors. You also need to separate the president of Members' Council and of the board, because if you have that as one, it's like marking your own exam script as a student.
All right. But Minister, let's get back to our topic, of course, that is of Freedom Month. I'm done hijacking you for today. So then as we wrap up then our conversation, how should we or are we indeed then observing Freedom Month? You know, as you were sort of talking yesterday in the Free State, what were your words in terms of how we're supposed to be observing this month in South Africa?
Firstly, you know, this is the 27th year of our freedom, which is the same year as Madiba spent at Robben Island. Just to reflect on that, reflect on the fact that we mark the 25th anniversary of the adoption of the Constitution in this country. And in line with the theme, and remember we're going to Free State, the symbolic also going to Free State is that the Parliament of the People was established in Free State in the name of the South African National Native Congress, which is the African National Congress today, that it was that voice which gave the majority of the people dignity and power to forge ahead in fighting for freedom in this country. But the theme guides us, because the theme for this year is that it's the year of Charlotte Maxeke, and we lived the meaning of freedom under COVID-19. One of the meaning of this freedom under COVID-19 is the curtailment of civil liberties. People have faced that from last year. And that facing that means that they've sacrificed some civil liberties for the greater good. The greater good here is that beyond COVID-19, we should still have South Africans. We should still have people in South Africa alive, as it were. But also, it means that freedom itself comes with obligations. And this is one of the obligations. In a way, applauding South Africans in their majority that they understood this period which we find ourselves in. That is why, as government, we have worried ourselves in how do we ensure that we meet our people halfway in these very difficult situations. You would know, for instance, that many sectors of the economy for the best part of last year were shut down, and as we went through the lockdown process, they were opened, some partially, others totally open. But of course, the sector like the creative sector itself is still, shut down precisely because it's not the choice of government, but it's precisely because it works with people. And now getting people together has proven to be a super spreader. And therefore, we are urging our people that we should not take for granted the freedom which we have achieved, but also plan going forward to focus on economic emancipation of the entire population in South Africa.
All right, Minister, thanks for your time and agreeing to speak to us here on SABC News this afternoon. Much appreciated.